percentage of your wins is going to make the difference. Exciting game, buddy. Do we expect to see a lot of speedsters here? It's been the talk of this entire patch. It's been the talk of today's tournament. I think we will.
I think it's definitely a very educated guess that we will be seeing speedsters once again. And I'm not sure, these teams where they're going to be playing the speedsters that we're used to seeing. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of speedsters, right, available. Obviously, the ones that were buffed with the defense penetration are probably going to be the most prio, but don't forget, we still have Zorak that is used so widely, right? We've got Leafeon that we haven't really seen much. And those are the two speedsters that we're used to seeing a lot back in the day. And Absolute Cinema is a team, as you mentioned, that have played so much in terms of the grassroots tournaments. They say practice makes perfect, so maybe this is a chance to show off some of that perfection. We've saw them in the boot camp as well. Very, very lovely people in person, but it's about locking in for this final round today of the winter tournament, or winter showdown rather. And Absolute Cinema will have the first pick here. They're gonna be banning out the Blissey though, so not what we'd expect.
Nvidia is going to take out the Absol as well. No surprises there. Will Ganon go for the Talonflame that we've been seeing so many people ban, or are they going to go for the trusted Psyduck? Yes, they are. So, understandable picks here. Maybe Absol sneaking on in just due to the recent changes to them. Absolute Cinema get this first pick. What are they going to use it on? We usually see people go for those trusty ranged attackers, but Talon, yeah, easy, right?
It has to be Talon, I think. It's just too good of a Pokemon not to pick up. Where you can even play it in the top path as well, just being how well it is for the early bit of damage with acrobatics. The Scout-Toe, though, will be able to pick up the Aegislash, and TVPR on the Snorlax is a great shout, I think, for Sanguine.
What I also like is seeing these builds on pro players, because that's the build I use on Talonflame, and it makes me just feel so secure that I know what I'm doing when we see that happen, buddy. Aaron's also going to take the Mouscarada. Oh my days. Luigi locking in the Hooper. This is fascinating. Nvidia goes for the Sableye, which has seen a little bit of a resurgence now, Fu, maybe because of just the disruption that it can cause on speedsters. But I feel like looking at Absolute Cinema's side, what a set of Pokemon they've already got.
I think taking away the Sableye is very important as well, because Sableye Talonflame is a combo we've seen used a lot recently, especially from Nouncers as well. And the ability to stun them coming out of your invisibility into the fly is a combo that not many can actually avoid. I do have to say, maybe it's just a go to do 4 speedsters right on the side of Absolute Cinema with a Hooper. That would be pretty funny to watch. And speaking of speedsters, maybe not the speedster we're thinking of, but if they do play Submission Machamp, that's a fast boy right there.
That it is. The Machamp currently has an EXP share on it as well, so we have support Machamp on
extra
the field.
Speed, Tano.
Hey,
extra speed.
News, if it works, Fu, it works. Let them cook. They're in the kitchen right now. They're giving us a show. They want it to be Absolute Cinema. Ganon is going to take the Armor Rouge. Do we expect that to go Fire Spin? I know Armor Cannon does a great amount of damage and splash damage, but Fire Spin just gives it that kind of all-rounder stylish move, doesn't it, Fu? And it can be quite good against that burst damage coming your way.
I think it's a really smart move to go Fire Spin here, because you've got 4 members of Absolute Cinema all being melee or having to get up close and personal. And not only is that great for something like a Fire Spin, it's also great for the Aegislash as well, because sometimes Aegislash does struggle to kind of chase down enemies if they can't get the initial lock on with the boosted. However, if they're all going to be running at you anyway, a massive wide guard into a Seika Sword could mean the end of a lot of these squishy Pokemon that Absolute Cinema has in their roster.
I gotta say, as a fan of Pokemon Unite, as a caster, I am so excited for these games, because we see so much of my favorite Pokemon. Absol is played all the time. Gengar is seeing the light of day, Fu. Every time I see it, my face just lights up. I'm so excited for it. So, what a meta we're in. This is getting me really excited for these next huge tournaments. I mean, you mentioned it. We've got the finals coming, the qualifiers, coming next week for the March Cup, and then it's not far from LAIC, right? NAIC, sorry. So it's so different of a meta coming into those tournaments. EUIC was literally last week, and it was completely the opposite of what we're seeing here. These speedsters are ruling the day.
I mean, it could be ruining for some teams that don't play it too much, but for Absolute Cinema, this is their comfort, it seems like. And everyone wants a piece of the cake of the new buffs. And they've got 3 of the 4 Pokemons that were in that patch, haven't they? And it's going to be not Dodo hitting that central area for them. Obviously, thinking of all these speedsters available, that's probably the best one to choose to get that level 5.
Not only do we have the support Machamp, but we also have them invading the central area of Sanguine. They're going to see if they can get this red buff away because, of course, they're going to concentrate on grabbing the blue for Ganon. That's going to be interesting because that means that they're not going to be able to come into the lane as Armor Rouge here, Fu.
Yeah, very interesting that no one actually helped out this Armourouge, or the Shardaket rather, considering the fact that they saw one missing in the path. Regardless, we do have Nvidia running away and not going to be fast enough into the bird that could. And we do have a potential wipe here, but nice little acrobatics back in. A 180 will be able to knock that out, and Fire Spin as we caught it. So luckily, they're still able to get that level 5 from some of those top path Pokemon, and that's going to be a relief for their team.
What I do like is that teams right now are just trying to work out what they can use against these speedsters. Ganon coming in with the Fire Spin Armor Rouge, just trying to see if that might be the answer for their team. Right now, it does seem like they're going to be able to at least take out Daddy Leon here. There goes the Fletchinder. Now they can see if they can find more, but they're getting pretty weak as Haunter comes into the field. Sableye trying to cause that disruption. Nvidia does fall, though, because of the burn from the Will-O-Wisp. Not Dodo can score some stacks here as well if that's what they want to do. The Scout is so weak that it's going to have to just get onto these citrus berries here, Fu. Interesting play from Sanguine.
I really am sad that it's not a Hex Gengar, because I think Hex Gengar is so strong into that team, and maybe that's just me coping, because we've seen too many Shadow Ball Dream Eaters. But we do have Luggy, though, just poking down this blue buff without the notice of Ganon. So, yet again, Ganon not having a great time in the central area, constantly getting their buffs stolen from them, and with a K streak of 2 up in the top path, it seems like that top path has been won by Absolute Cinema as well.
Miraidon going for the Electro Drift as well. It did have a recent nerf, but of course it does give it that kind of speedster-like play, and it might work really well at trying to dodge the attacks coming in to them. It does look like Sanguine managed to grab quite a bit of that central lane farm, and with that Electro Drift, poor little Hooper gets deleted, unfortunately for Luigi, back to the Pokemon Center.
I think you have to play Electro Drift into 3 speedsters, right? I mean, that's just going to be too tough of a matchup, not 2. You're going to get run down the entire match. Nilt is on that level 6. So with that experience share, maybe looking for more. They are going to be playing Submission as we anticipated, but they're going to quickly get eviscerated by the boosted Electro Drift. And that's not going to be a lot of Pokemons available to kind of defend that pad, especially up in the top path as well. That's some nice little dunk come out from Sanguine.
I mean, look at the points on the board. We've got 7 minutes here, so the objectives are spawning. Aaron's trying to see if they can get away, but no, the Electro Drift takes them down. Luigi manages to take down the legendary Dragon Bike as well. Regice has spawned. Typer's trying to see if they can get some zoning in here, whilst the Armor Rouge. There's the Psycho Boom. Luigi doesn't go down, but the Haunter does. Regice is so weak, they have to keep Luigi away from it, while Ganon puts the damage in with the Fire Spin. That's going to be global experience for Sanguine. Looks like they want to push onto this T1 pad as well. The submission comes in. They weren't able to find anybody with it. Cross-chopping their way through as well. They just break that pad. 175 points on the board for Sanguine now, Fu.
Yeah, really great comeback from Sanguine, especially seeing how easy it is for Absolute Cinema to snowball. Regardless, though, we do have Haunter evolving now to Gengar, I think taking down Aegislash. A nice little Chaos Glower to knock back 2 members, sending them back into their home pad. Not sure whether Nvidia can actually get out of this, though, but we do have a huge backup from the Miraidon, Tano, and that's going to be good enough to really get value out, especially with the experience now going on to side of Sanguine. The nice little Meteor will come through, trying to keep themselves unstoppable, but it's going to be hard to get out of double speedsters. They are going to be looking for more. This is an incredibly aggressive Miraidon, and it's paying off wonderfully for their team.
Yeah, I love it. I'm absolutely loving the Electro Drifts that we're seeing. They come and back up their teammates. They get some clean KOs, and they are able to get themselves out of them. That's what's so important, Fu. You can't give over unnecessary KOs, and the fact that you can rely on your Miraidon player to dive on in, get some KOs, and get out of it is absolutely huge for your team. Sanguine also being able to see if they can push down onto this T2 pad. They're going to be able to rain some points in. It seems like they really want to make sure that they have a massive point lead as they come down to the middle section of this game. We did see the floor Floral Flourish coming out from Masquerada as well. But yet again, the block Snorlax enables Sanguine to get their team out of there.
Yeah, it's gonna be a heavy slam as well to add on to the stun that the team can afford there. And I think I do want to shout out the Masquerada. I mean, that was a huge double team into the fake, into the Floral Flourish. I mean, that was an incredible way to watch, and how they got out of that Aegis Slash being on 1 HP was a huge way to keep themselves in the lead in terms of their levels. Now we do have an opportunity for this Machoke to evolve finally. It's after the 5-minute mark, and they're going to be running it down, trying to grab anyone possible, and the Sableye able to get out of there and still a Machoke there to show for themselves. No Barrage Blow available either, and Sableye just really causing trouble, right? Disrupting the gameplay there, and they're actually affording a huge amount of time for their team to actually grab that basement Reggie. But we do have a consolation prize in the form of 40. Not too sure whether the talent can actually get out of there.
Nah, it's unfortunate. A good dunk though, because you need to make sure that you're keeping yourself within the game. There is the Phantom Ambush from Not Dodo, and they just utilize scoring to try and get that Dream Eater onto Ganon. They are able to do so. They decide not to utilize it though, so they're not stuck in the Flux Zone. But unfortunately, Sanguine did come with the rest of their team, and they take down Gengar.
They indeed do, and the top Regieleki will be available, but looking at the mini-map, it doesn't seem like Absolute Cinema actually wants to contest. I mean, the other thing about Speedsters is it's great to kind of get some backups in, because you are very, very mobile, but they haven't been doing that either. So, bit of a tough scenario now for Absolute Cinema. They do have some levels to their name, however. I'm just worried that the final stretch fight might be a bit tough for them, seeing they don't have as much sustain as possible. Sableye gets the Dream Eater combo. They will get the KO there. And, I mean, we do have Not Dodo finding that one for their team. And with that, I mean, if Sanguine keeps delivering this XP like that, it might be game over in that Rayquaza fight.
Yeah, definitely. They seem like they want to push into this top pad here. Ganon with the fire spin. So much damage thrown onto them, but they're still around. They said it was a squishy attacker. Ganon says, no, I'm not. You're not going to be able to take me that easily. Daddy Leon has to try and see if they can get out of here. On the Talonflame, the trick comes in. It's not going to do enough. It does, in fact. They take the KO onto Armarouge. Sableye falls as well. That's a double KO. Now they can see if they can score some points, but seeing that Miraidon and Aegis Slash there, they do want to return. Snorlax still being a nuisance down in this basement pad. Great play from Sanguine.
How did Talonflame get out of that and go 2 KOs? I thought they were done for after not landing the Brave Bird, but we do have on top there, Gengar not able to pick out Tai, but will be able to be enough damage to send them back in the home pad. Reg Eyes here now. So what I've heard from this Pokemon game is if you're not announced esports, you don't get a Registeel before Rayquaza fight. It's going to be probably the worst Reggie to play, but regardless, it's going to help out with the HP regeneration. Do have now team setting up. It is Sanguine in the lead, and don't forget these teams, they're looking for a way to win, especially for Absolute Cinema. They want the best chance for making that top 8. But for Sanguine, it's about staying into the top 8 and playing a second day tomorrow.
That was such an interesting play as well. They throw the trick onto Daddy Leon. They dive in with the Brave Bird and then use the trick to get straight out of that situation. Really smart play by them. We do have a little bit of damage going on to the Rayquaza here as they just try and get vision on where Absolute Cinema are here, Fu. They do have a good catch there by Sableye. Nvidia managing to get some damage onto Daddy Leon as well as a stun, but there we go. We do have a fall in. There's the barrage blow. Were they able to do enough though? There's the coup de grace, but they were cleaned on up by Masquerada. Really good play by Aaron, and it does seem like Absolute Cinema have managed to take out some good carries so far. Aegis Slash is down, and we've taken down Miraidon. It's all going to come down to whether they can get the Armarouge. The rip is onto the Rayquaza, but Ganon is here. They have the fire spin, trying to see if they can sneak through there. There's the Psychic Kinetic going down. Rayquaza's getting so weak. Who locks it in? It is going to be Ganon. That is probably not the Pokemon that you want going into that pit with that fire spin there, Fu.
No, it's not. And I think just Hooper going down early, it was just so detrimental for the team, right? No Hooper portals, no Rings Unbound, no additional stun from the team. And all they can do is wave the white flag now as they're going to be surrendering this first game. It will go on the side of Sanguine, so momentum to stay in the top 8 is definitely on their team. Do have to say though, that's what we were scared about, right? The squishiness of Absolute Cinema. They had some good picks there that took out the Aegis Slash, but just not enough sustain without the Phantom Force and the trick to help some of their speeds to stay in the fight. And at the end of the day, right, you've got the fire spin in the entire Rayquaza pit. very hard for them to go in.
It is, and I gotta say, I feel like the Hammer Rouge might be a genius pick here, Fu, to be honest, especially taking that all-rounded practice with it, because, of course, while speedsters do huge burst damage, they do have to be pretty melee with it, so pretty good position for Ganon TTV to be in. 61k damage being the max damage in this game so far, so that's interesting. Maybe we'll see some more teams try and see if they can pick that up, because it definitely seemed to work for Sanguine. Of course, so did the Electrodrift Miraidon. And I gotta say, fair play NVIDIA. I feel like Sableye was an absolute nuisance to Absolute Cinema there. And as we have a look at these points here, Fu, it is definitely was Sanguine's game the entire way through. They were in the lead for the whole of that, whilst Absolute Cinema tried to catch up at that 6-minute mark. Interesting battle between them, though.
Yeah, I agree. I think definitely for most of that game, it was Sanguine's to hold in and to control. But 3 Regis is quite a funny look, right? Considering we had a couple of Regises beforehand. So I guess it's really up to the RNG at the end of the day. But RNG is going to be the power play with the Rayquaza sporting. And what you can do is if you can wipe out the entire enemy team, then it's definitely going to be 100% Rayquaza to be yours, right? But it's not over yet for Absolute Cinema. They can still take it to the distance and maybe finish off strong here with a 2-1 if they are going to be able to win those next 2 games. Regardless, though, I doubt we're going to be able to see another triple speedster comp. I think that was maybe a little bit too much. I mean, yeah, everyone wants to play speedsters nowadays, but it's you got to think about the balance, right, between having the speedsters but also having a little bit more sustain in that later part of the game.
Yeah, it definitely felt a little bit ambitious, didn't it? I feel like maybe throw something in there like another defender or even an all-rounder, to be honest with you. Something that could try and at least go toe-to-toe with that Armor Rouge, maybe a Metagross or something like that, though you are worried about the late game. But yeah, I just feel like maybe that isn't the call. We'll see if they make a difference, make a change here anyway, as we have a look at these bans coming on in.
We will have a quick look. It looks like they're going to be sticking with the same side here. Absolute Cinema choosing to pick first. They're going to be banning out Blissey first, as we saw in the previous game. But Gengar is going to be banned out for Sanguine. So none of that now for Not Dodo. So a different Pokemon, I think, available for them.
Yeah, Umbreon out of here as well. So Absolute Cinema going with sensible picks. Sanguine have done the same. They've at least got rid of the Gengar here. And of course sticking with that Psyduck ban. Absolute Cinema do have access to this Talonflame that they put so much importance on in that previous round. Is that what they're going to go for here? Or will they go for something a bit more self-sustaining? No, they're going to go for the Talonflame.
Yeah, I'm surprised they're not even banned out there. It seems like Sanguine had a harder time playing against the Gengar than the Talonflame, or maybe it's just a strategy thing. And I think the good thing about Talonflame is you don't always have to go for that Brave Bird either, right? I think Fly is a great option if you have a few attackers on the team, but not going to be attackers. We're going to have 2 speedsters to go through. That's 3 speedsters to be the first 3 picks of this set, and that's something I never thought I'd say.
Buddy, there's a reason I dyed my hair blue every single time we come into these tournaments since this patch. I knew this patch was going to happen.
You knew, bro. You knew.
I was in the future. I knew it was going to happen. Now all we see is those blue backgrounds in every single tournament. TVPR does lock in the Snorlax.
Do you work for Pokemon, by the way?
Mate,
do you have some insider?
I'm the creator of Pokemon. I don't know what you mean. Pokemon Unite, I made it, bro. So yeah,
that's it.
No, they do take the Aegis Slash, mate. So they're not going to go for that triple speedster plan. Sanguine looks like they were getting prepared for it. Masquerada and Absol on their side, but now we have a Clefable getting picked. That's interesting, but I feel like it will work in this meta right now.
It is very interesting. I don't think it will stop something like a Fly, but it definitely will stop the Aegis Slash from playing and having the most amount of dashes. But a very interesting play as well, because, I mean, Clefable doesn't really work well with speedsters, right? It's very hard for your healer to kind of chase up onto you. It's not a point-and-click heal either, so I actually don't like this pick at all. Regardless, though, we have Ho-Oh coming out from Absolute Cinema, so that's a very interesting pick. I mean, Ho-Oh got buffed 2 patches ago, and it has been doing very well in terms of the sustain it has, and also the vision it can provide for the team. And another Pokemon I didn't expect today was this Venusaur. But it looks like it's going to go for the Petal Dance, which could be good. Could afford them the sustain that they're looking for.
Yeah, I feel like that's very much in the same idea as the Armor Rouge, right? If you do have that raid boss Venusaur when you hit that level 13 at the later game, it's nearly impossible to KO, to be fair. And they do only have that the burst damage coming in from the Talonflame. Although Aegis Slash is there, so with it a couple of boosters, of course, Petal Dance means that Not Dodo is going to be able to get plenty of those boosted attacks because you just throw out that wide guard and it's free experience for you to be able to get that. So that's an interesting decision. I feel like that's exactly what Not Dodo is going to do. Make a beeline for that Venusaur. That's your target.
And another thing, picking the Venusaur makes more sense with the Clefable now, because now they're going to go for that Death Ball, right? We've got the Clef and the Venu sticking together, and also the Snorlax just to help out with the tankiness of it all, and obviously the speeds are doing whatever they can. Now, the great news is we do have a carry Ho-Oh that has a Cursed Bangle on it, so you know, whether they go over the Flamethrower or the Fire Spin, regardless of the move, you're going to be able to provide that AoE curse, which means that Venusaur won't really have the same amount of sustain, even with the Moonlight sticking by its side. I think that's very smart on the side of Absolute Sinnoh.
Here we go, though, Fu. So this could be the last game of the day. We'll have to see. Xatu just staying alone there, whilst Daddy Leon was maybe going in there a little bit. Absolute Cinema here on your purple side. Sanguine on your orange. Absolute Cinema need to get a win to take this to a game 3.
They definitely do, and with Ho-Oh and a future Espeon in this bot path, it does look good for them in terms of secure, at least. You see Snorlax trying to secure it for their team. They are able to pick off one little bit of farm on their side, but once the Espeon comes online, I do anticipate a harder chance for them to take out some of those neutrals. But looking at the top side here, a double melee come out from Sanguine against a Hooper, which means possibly a tougher time for them to get away.
Yeah, and then we're going to see the Fletchinder coming in as well with the acrobatics and possibly the flame charge. That's a really good power spike for them to utilize. They do pick up their Clever. They're going to be able to rain some points in. That's working quite well for them, but it's also doing the same for Sanguine on that basement lane. Absol has gone down and dominated it alongside their teammates, and literally whatever happens in that basement lane is happening in this top lane for Absolute Cinema. What an interesting game this is, Fu.
Oh, it's just you know, we respect your top path, but we're going to quickly push this bottom path there to get value wherever they can. And I think it's very smart for Sanguine to actually ambush this bottom path to help the Venusaur come online. And once they do have access to that Petal Dance, then they can sustain themselves, right? So Ganon definitely an intelligent decision, and perhaps an intelligent kind of right place at the right time there to knock out this Doublade and gain themselves a closer march into that level 7.
I like the stored power coming in from Espeon. That's going to make it even harder for Ganon to do much. They nearly pick up Luigi, but unfortunately they weren't able to. The fly from Daddy Leon says goodbye to Nvidia, though. So that's going to mean that top lane is actually sparse for Sanguine right now as they try and see if they can get back onto their pad here. They were going to. Now they want to push down onto Ho-Oh because, of course, we do have Masquerada here as well. But it's just so much burn. It's so difficult for them to handle Ho-Oh. It's got so much sustain, Fu.
It definitely does, and I think Flamethrower, like, having that buff recently as well, we'll be able to provide not only that damage, but for this case, it's going to be that curse, right? That lingering curse onto the Pokemon that can sustain. Hooper not in a great position, trying for a little bit too much there will mean that there's an opportunity for them to push this pad as Sanguine, and Absol going in early, but into the wide guard of your Aegis Slash will mean that perhaps they will get punished from that score, regardless, to get a stack in, but not going to be available for these birds now.
Yeah, utilizing that fly so that they can take all of that farm away from Sanguine. They're going to back up onto their T1 pads here in both lanes, while Snorlax takes a quick nap, gets back to a rather healthy state. We're about to have these objectives spawn onto the field. Finally, Petal Dance Venu is on the field as well. It does seem like Sanguine are going to pay some attention into that top lane, whilst the rip on the Regice is here. Daddy Leon's going to lock that one in quite easily for Absolute Cinema. Now they may make a decision to push this T1 pad. Of course, Typer's there on that Snorlax. Definitely not an easy Pokemon to push, and Absolute Cinema make the decision to retreat from this.
Yeah, that's a really smart decision, considering that there's probably going to be a push from Sanguine up in this top path. Now, Midnight Slash actually goes through. Not sure whether it was really worth it to use a Unite move there, but nonetheless, they do get the Regieleki. Let's see whether they can make a way to push it in. I mean, it's already so low now, because Not Dodo is just shredding it with its Sacred Sword. And that means there's going to be a fight in the middle path here. Flame Streak to push in. Oh my god, they do take out the Absol, though, but they will get traded out from themselves with Masquerada taking that KO as they look to find some sort of engagement in the bottom path. But it's just so hard, right, when you have a Ho-Oh to try to take down with that flamethrower that's constantly down your neck.
I mean, you absolutely called it, though. We definitely have this pocket Clefable on the Petal Dance Venusaur. That is going to be very difficult for Absolute Cinema to KO as we hit the later stages of this game. For now, though, we are having a good field day up here on Not Dodo. There's the coup de grab. The Floral Flourish comes out, and Absol finds the KO. Ganon going to score a 40 dunk. Another 40 rains on in. That's a 33 overcap for Sanguine, giving themselves a nice lead, 165. Daddy Leon seeing if they can take out the Scout. But absolutely not, says the Scout, and they're able to take that one themselves. Here's the Psychic Solaire trying to see if they can cause some damage here onto Sanguine, push them out of the way, but it does look like they're going to be able to retreat. Not Dodo doesn't want to let them, though. Venusaur does fall, and it looks like the pressure is raining on into Nvidia as well. They have to back up. Oh, they just missed the Psybeam. That was so close to taking that KO Fu.
Oh, definitely incredibly close. Nvidia now running away, probably accepting the fate there as they look into the wall, into that naughty corner, getting sent back, but all is not lost. They do have a Absol that is level 12 and going to be the first one of this game as they look for this Regirock. Finally, a refreshing basement Reggie, away from Regice and Registeel.
Regirock, definitely the second best buff for them to be able to take. It seems like both teams are at least going to pay some attention to it here. And they do have the rip on the side of Sanguine, of course. Snorlax can also provide that zone in, but Ho-Oh is not an easy Pokemon to zone out. Aeron's there as well with the secure. They know that they need to go for the Espeon if they want to go for this. The Midnight Slash, though, doesn't hit anybody. Luigi lets the rings loose. They can bring in the entire team if they wish, but that Lecky is going to push into the T2, and it seems like the entirety of Sanguine are going to just approach that goal and try to break it. Aegislash does manage to find the Regirock, and look at the nuisance that TPR is showing here to Sanguine, whilst that T2 pad gets absolutely demolished. 307 points on the board for them now.
Yeah, I mean, even though they lost that bottom Reggie, I mean, there's just so much value breaking that top tier 2 pad, right? Considering the fact that there is going to be a third Reggie elected to fight for as well. And getting some scores in for Ty is going to be great for them as they want to hit that level 13 on the Petal Dance Venu. They're not going to be able to do so as they get knocked out by your Talent Flame. And Sacred Sword from Dodo looking for more, maybe trying to get this Absol in, but Ganon able to get out of there and sticking with the Clefable will provide some shields. No, they actually go back straight into the Sacred Sword. My bad, and they get knocked out there. Not Dodo is now a level 13. A Jet coming out from the Floral Flourish, not going to be just enough to take them down. They are going to be running back in, get stunned from the wide guard, and perhaps that is not the way the Scout wants to go. Somehow this Aegislash is still available for them. Not Dodo, slicing and dicing. They pick up another one with Talent Flame, and you thought Sanguine might have had the upper hand there, didn't you? But, I mean, at the end of the day, if you fight the sword for way too long, it is going to be the Aegislash that comes out on top.
That it is. It's a scary Pokemon to face down, buddy. Of course, that Unite move doing so much damage, and then the boostings that you get. It's definitely not an easy thing to do, but level 13 has now hit this Venusaur. A huge area of effect they now have with this Petal Dance. It's absolutely massive, and it's going to be even harder to take down as we have Absolute Cinema showing their face for this Lecky. Of course, they do need to. That could be a win condition for Sanguine, and they're just taking the opportunity to score even more points and get the basement Reggie. They're hoping for a Reggie steal as the rest of their team sets up.
They definitely are going to be hoping. We're going to see in about 5 seconds what it's going to be. Now, we do know that there is obviously 3 level 13s on the side of Sanguine, especially with that Venusaur as well. Oh my gosh, it is a Reggie steal. These games are going way too well for the orange side, it seems. But, you know, don't forget, a level 13 Ho-Oh is a tough Pokemon to take down as well. And the Fire Spin is very akin to the Petal Dance. Regardless, we do have an early bit of poke coming in from your Espeon. And both teams just dancing around, seeing what both teams are going to be doing. Daddy Leon going in for the 50 into 100. We'll bring them closer into that disparity as we have now an engage coming through the wide guard to knock back the Snorlax, and both teams not committing just yet, but they will have to be soon, especially if you're on the side of the Absolute Cinema. There goes the heavy slam into the block, trying to isolate, but that's not something you can do to a Ho-Oh. And Fire Spin we do have a nice little Sacred Sword not actually hitting as they go through. All members going in. The Midnight Slash knock out the sword immediately, and that's going to be 2 members down for Absolute Cinema. But the Ho-Oh to rekindle the flames, to bring back the Aegis Slash for a round 2. Venusaur is oh so low. Espion actually takes it down, and that's going to be a huge KO for Absolute Cinema. But the Absolute Cinema will go down with 3 members now down for Sanguine as well. This fight is going on both sides. It's an absolute tug of war, Tano, and no one has touched the Rayquaza since yet.
No, Daddy Leon does throw a fly onto it there, but of course with having Absol out of the fight now for 15 seconds, the Rip is on, the Power Nap rains on down, cannot Dodo lock it in, they've got the coup de grace, it is Absolute Cinema that takes it, the coup de grace works, Daddy Leon cleans up the KO, we're gonna go to a game 3, Foo.
Everyone is buying the tickets to the latest show, aren't they? And that's going to be a Game 3 scenario for Absolute Cinema against Sanguine. Both these teams want it so bad to make it into tomorrow. And with the fact that they have somehow come back, the power of Ho-Oh, even though Ganon got a KO Sugar 3, it just wasn't enough, right? You're going to be able to KO them twice there. And Ty going down to the Espeon is a huge pick for Aaron. It definitely was the game changer in that Rayquaza fight.
Wow, what a set these two teams are giving us. As a reminder, chat, if Sanguine don't win this set, they're almost guaranteed to not be in the finals tomorrow. Absolute Cinema have a really good chance to get into the finals if they do win it. Let's have a look at these damage stats, buddy, because it felt like they were constantly fighting, but there's not a ridiculous amount of damage. Of course, most of these Pokemon on the field are quite squishy, but I feel like Talonflame is such a threat in this game, and banning it makes absolute sense.
Oh, definitely. I think the instead of the Gengar ban, maybe a Talonflame ban is probably more viable for the team. Regardless, though, it's still a very close game. I hope we get to see the battle report in a little bit, but it was just really a tug of war for most of it. And you can see always Sanguine had the upper hand, but slowly but steadily, Absolute Cinema were climbing back in and trying to grasp any opportunity available to them. And that comes in the form of a couple of Reggies in the bottom path, but just at the end of the day, it's just how the Rayquaza fight goes, right? And Ho is just such a great pick for them, I think.
Yeah, Ho-Oh is an interesting one as well, because as you say, it has recently been buffed. It's so difficult to take down, and of course you have the Rekindling Flame as well that does bring, well, if you have enough points, you can bring your whole team back pretty much, but it's an interesting pick. We haven't seen much of it, to be honest with you, but I feel like it worked really well for Absolute Cinema in there. It was so difficult to take out. They couldn't dominate that basement lane like we've seen teams do so well because of how difficult it is to take down that Ho-Oh.
That's absolutely right. And I wonder whether they could bring it in the next game. I mean, it's kind of like I always like to think Ho as like the father version of Talonflame, and having them both on one team is quite a funny experience. Regardless, though, it does seem like Sanguine has been changing it up, trying to see whether they can actually combat what Absolute Cinema is throwing. They're not too keen on that many speedsters on their team, but they do still have, one rare one whenever they get the chance. Regardless, like the meta shift has been so fast, right? And these teams, some of them may not play the speedsters that have been buffed, so it's all about trying out the counters if they can in today's grassroots tournament. So we're going to head on into this final game of our round number 6 of the Winter Showdown, brought to you by Unity Clash. Tano, instantly, Absolute Cinema doesn't even want to play Talonflame anymore. They're like, you know what? It's time to play another speedster, but we're going to make sure Sanguine doesn't play it.
Yeah, I mean, it's valid, isn't it? Both teams are recognizing how much of a threat that Pokemon really is in this game right now. Are they going to see some more? Gengar also gets banned out by Sanguine. They feel like, nope, we don't want to be taking that on. Absolute Cinema with really sensible bans here. Blissey and Umbreon getting taken out of this game as well.
Yeah, it's double species taken out, but still the classic Blissey Umbreon ban. So Psyduck is available for Ty if they are looking for that. I think it's probably one of the better picks here, apart from Snorlax. But Absol is going to be locked in, so I guess we don't know what we're talking about here, because that is a species that has let out of ban jail. But now surely we do anticipate a Snorlax to come through, right? It's just too good not to take, and I guess Psyduck is the other one. And they will be able to take that in with Leon picking up the Aegis Slash.
does mean that TVPR does have access to this Snorlax. They're going to lock that in straight away. They've been doing really well on that defender, to be honest, too, and it's worked really well for their team. Zacian is also going to come out to play. Discouto not able to get that Aegislash, so they're going to go for the other massive sword, being that Zacian.
Zacian is going to be a great shout, especially for a intense game number 3, right? Sometimes when it comes to the secure, it's always good to have Pokemons that can help with that, and obviously on the side of Absolute Cinema, it's going to be that coup de grace. Aaron now picking up a piece of their own with the Masquerada, and Nilt with a Goodra is very interesting. I mean, it does provide the gooey effect, kind of slow down enemies, and maybe it's a hard tank to kind of take down, but does it do anything into something like a Snorlax or a Zacian? What do you think?
What I will say is that obviously I've played a lot of Absol. Probably it's my most played mon in Pokemon Unite. And Muddy Water Goodra has actually been quite difficult to come up against since the patch update, Foo. So maybe Nils has actually worked out how effective that could be on an Absol specifically. So we'll have to keep a close eye on that one, buddy. Not Dodo is going to take the Mimikyu as well. We have been seeing that utilized with the Trick Room. Let's see whether Not Dodo decides to go for that. Of course, they are going to have a little bit of melee coming their way, but Electro Drift Miraidon, do you think?
It has to be, right? I mean, there's just like no other way you can survive on Charge Beam Miraidon here. We got a Mimikyu running at you. We got Masquerada and also the sword if you get too close. And worst comes to worst, the Duck is going to be able to get you with the Psychic. I mean, with the Electro Drift, at least you have a way out. That's why I presume. But, you know, we'll be able to see what they get up to as we head into this last final game. I'm very keen. The fact that it is, I know it's getting really late for you, but having a Game 3 scenario in the final round when it matters so much to both these teams, it is a great way to bring entertainment, I think, for everyone.
Listen, I love Pokemon Unite so much that I'm actually going to be going to bed after this and getting up in 5 hours to cast another tournament, mate. So, you know, that's how much we love this game. And
all pro bono, mate. All pro bono.
That's how much we love this game. We make sure that it has the viewing that it needs. Here we go, though. We're going to be heading into this game. It's going to be the final game of the day, I believe, and it depends. Sanguine there on your purple side, Absolute Cinema on your orange side. If Sanguine lose this one, they're not going to be heading into the finals tomorrow.
No, they're not. So high stakes for both these teams, as Not Dodo will be taking the central area with that Mimikyu, and Absol will do the same for Sanguine. So they're going to go through now. We've got the Psyduck just to help out to make sure that the Sableye doesn't get any funny ideas, and we're going to have actually a huge secure from NVIDIA. They're going to be able to get the 10 in with the score shield as well. And what a way to send a message out, especially the fact that you can actually steal farm and points from the enemy team with your initial thief ability.
I like it, buddy. NVIDIA's just feeling like they're in the 500 point mode, right? Got that score shield on. They're on the same line. They're just going to rain in points all game. Really cheeky, funny ideas coming out from NVIDIA there. And we do see, of course, Absol rains on in. Ganon, they were able to take down one with the Zacian. Can they take down the second one? Yes, they can. This is not the start of this game that Absolute Cinema want to have.
No, absolutely not. We actually have Not Dodo picking the Shadow Claw to actually ambush the bottom path. And speaking of ambushing, here comes Sableye as well. NVIDIA wanting to get both these paths ahead, and a nice little stun, but however, will get down and knocked out by the Shadow Claw, and we'll be able to find that KO. Meanwhile, we have a little Goomy running at the Miraidon, knowing it's got its bubble ready to go, just not enough. And actually, it's a Charge Beam Miraidon, so I'm so curious to see how they're going to be able to live some of these interactions, because in my mind, there's going to be no mobility going up into 3 people running at you.
No, and I did notice that they have the spoon, but they also have the anti-heal on the Miraidon for the charge beam. Maybe that's to try and target the Goodra or something like that. I'm not sure, but I'm with you, buddy. They're not going to have an easy day, but Absolute Cinema have managed to at least put some points finally into this T1 goal. We're now at 63 to 10 points on the board, but Ganon is going to do what Absol does best. They're going to come into this lane and just annihilate anybody they see.
Yeah, just the power of Absol in the early game is so strong. Very easy to snowball as well. And speaking of snowballing, a lot of experience now afforded onto the side of Sanguine. All those birds for free, and Psyduck has to quickly back away because of that. And I think looking at the draft that Absolute Cinema has, it does take a while for them to actually truly come online, as opposed to something like Zacian and Absol early game. So yet again, it's about holding on, isn't it? to the rope that is your pads, and making sure that they maybe don't break that early on, or if they do break, making sure that you soak up all those wild Pokemons on the side.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We do have this central farm spawning now. Daddy Leon trying to see if they can grab that. The Midnight Slash comes out. It drops a huge amount of damage onto Aegislash, and they do eventually fall with the backup of that Absol there. Miraidon managing to cook in that basement lane as well, taking out the Masquerada. Nvidia trying to see if they can cause some distraction here onto this top pad, and Absol just cleans up the rest of them. Pair that with the Zacian, and it's too much for Absolute Cinema to try and answer with here.
It's a little bit too hard, and in the bottom part, things don't look good for Absolute Cinema either. Regirock will go on the side of Sanguine uncontested. I do think that it's back to capturing some of these wild Pokemons, at least for the Mimikyu, because they know they can one-shot the Absol if they have the Play With Me available, considering the fact that they are going to be playing that Shadow Sneak as well. So they just need to be able to lock on and quickly pop that Unite move to gain all that experience back. Leon getting sent back in as Sanguine tries to push this pad. The Meteor Storm will come through. Will we see a bright future, though? Where's the Play With Me locking onto the Absol, but it's not going to be good enough as to get shut down by the Miraidon. No one's looking at the Miraidon so far, and this is a great time if you're going to be a backline attacker, because all you have to do is stay in the backline and dish out the damage, which it is great for. And with a K-Sugar 2, the Regieleki will walk in, and voila! The top pad is gone for both the tiers. And this is not a great position for Absolute Cinema to be in.
Oh, the Thunder takes down Psyduck as well. Scout with an absolutely massive Sovereign Sword during that battle there, Fu. Made the difference for their team. We do have Not Dodo managing to pop down onto Zacian. They do take down that KO, so a good amount of experience for them. But as we've mentioned, of course, Absolute Cinema are definitely in more of a later stage fight here, right? They do need to, they finally got Goodra on the field. They're definitely more of a later stage Pokemons that they have. Can they push this T1 pad? No, Absol just deletes Mimikyu, and even this Goodra is not having a good day against Ganon. Can they continue to take more KOs? Yes, they can. It's a triple KO there, Fu.
Say though, for the fact that Midnight Slash isn't really connecting well, they are able to pick up a lot of these KOs with its Night Slash moveset. So big shout out to them, because they are level 13 now, and we haven't even hit the 5-minute mark. That is an incredible level, and you're gonna be very careful now, right? If you're gonna be Ganon, because we have a lot of now Pokemon's having their Unite moves on the side of Absolute Cinema. If they get caught out in any of them, that's gonna be a straight bit of experience going on their side of Absolute Cinema, and that's not really what you want, considering you have such a big points lead.
Ooh, okay, Reggie's still here in this basement lane. They're going to be able to push onto it, uncontested. Ganon is there, but they're too busy trying to deal with the Goodra, and they deal with it very quickly. Reggie still to the side of Absolute Cinema as well. Zacian has managed to lock in the Regieleki in that top lane. Luigi is going to throw themselves a cheeky little headache. And now they're going to be able to push this. I feel like maybe retreating might be the right call here, Fu. There's the Fleural Flourish coming out from Masquerada. It seems like they want to continue to push. Mimikyu is in the Flux Zone, but the block and the Power Nap is now going to come out from Snorlax. Huge defense from Sanguine here. I'm not sure whether Absolute Cinema has got enough out of this.
Oh, I don't think so, but we do have the Mimikyu trying the best with the Shadow Claw to get sustained, the Coup de Grace to knock them up, maybe get a KO if they can. They do actually find that KO before going down, so that will send the Aegislash into that level 12 territory, while they defend this Regieleki from walking in. There is going to be a third one, I think, that's my understanding, but looking at the levels from that fight, you can see double level 12s now, triple level 12s actually for Absolute Cinema, so definitely value, even though they weren't able to break any pads.
Yeah, I stand corrected. Absolute Cinema have found a way to get themselves into this game. We have 271 to 32 on the board, but as we know, final stretch, that doesn't really matter that much until you have 500 points advantage to your team. We are going to see Absolute Cinema soak up every piece of experience they possibly can here, while Nvidia wants to continue to push and score some points. They know Daddy Leon is there, and 14 might be a bit too ambitious at that moment. We do see Niels trying to see if they can put some pressure onto Ganon here on the Absol, but they get half of their health deleted instantly with that Psycho Cut there, Fu.
Oh, just managed to escape the Psychic, but not going to be able to escape the damage coming out from the Masquerada to knock them out. Sableye going back in just before the Rayquaza will spawn very, very soon. There seems like to be one last push now. Maybe an early Rayquaza fight coming out from Absolute Cinema, depending on the choice they will make. There is going to be that final Reggie in the bottom here, but it's very tough to fight a team with their pad still up because of the healing it can provide. It does seem like a smarter choice is to run at this Regieleki, considering they don't have a T2, is Absolute Cinema, and they're going to be sending all 5 members up top just to ensure that there's not going to be this problem going in. It's going to be another Registeel here, Tano.
Wow, Registeel, they are giving us a show for sure. They did take the win condition away from Sanguine. That's what they want. Now they can score some points in. Of course, they just want to break it. Despite waiting for the 2-minute mark, Nvidia goes on in with the stuns. Oh my god, they've deleted Mimikyu here, Fu. They're going to go for more. Zacian trying to see if they can find another KO. They dive in onto the Aegis/Daddy. Leon falls. Oh my god. Sanguine have deleted 2 heavy carries that Absolute Cinema have. And now Scout wants to rip the Rayquaza.
Now, Scout does not have the Unite move, so perhaps there's an opportunity for a steal coming out from Absolute Cinema. They're trying to stall it as much as possible, as the Sai Unite move will be popped there. In response, we have the Power Nap, but the Rayquaza so low, we didn't even have a look at it, and it gets secured by Sanguine. Miraidon able to lock it in for their team, and they might have just locked in their qualification into tomorrow's Day 2 finals. What an incredible way to fight the Rayquaza fight. They got 2 incredibly strong members out of the 2-minute mark at the start, as you mentioned, and that was really the way to quickly make sure Rayquaza also goes off the map and really lock in those scores and lock in the win.
Really well played, mate. Such a shame for Absolute Cinema. They managed to get themselves back into that game with a really good push in that basement lane, but unfortunately caught out at the wrong moment there by Sanguine. They kind of let them get lucky at that moment and kind of pushed them as they were trying to score those points. Ganon putting in an absolute shift for their team there on the Absol with 13 KOs, and it just feels like that has been the star of the show. If it's not the Absol, it's the Talonflame and Gengar. So difficult for teams to handle for the whole of this tournament.
Yeah, you said it very well then. Ganon hitting 35% of the team's damage. Yet again, just full display on the power of the speedsters. So that's going to be a round 6 win for Sanguine. And hopefully the bracket will be updated very soon. I think we're just waiting for one more set to finish. But it does seem like there's going to be a better chance of them to stay in the top 8. However, things could still happen with the other teams closer to that mark, so we won't guarantee anything. But regardless, a win is a fantastic way to send off day 1. Remember, 34 teams enter today's competition. Wild way to make a top 8. And I think for all those teams that entered, thank you so much for your participation. But at the end of the day, we are looking for the cream of the crop for tomorrow. And lots of that at stake, I think, for these teams in tomorrow's stream.
Yeah, I mean, let's have a look at the bracket here, Phil. Of course, we are still waiting on that one game, but we can have a look on how that's going to affect things. Looking here, T3 are actually in first position, really putting in a show. Nouns have managed to get themselves into second as well with a fantastic showing. Nemesis are going to take that 3rd spot. Komai Esports have just nipped down to that 4th place. They were second as we came into that set there, Phil.
Oh my god, Aegis Flames have beaten out Barcelona for the final position so far. Obviously, like you said, we're still waiting on a set to finish, but to my understanding, that set should not change the seeding anymore due to the fact that they're both not in the top 8 or close to it. But importantly, Drill Peck is just shy of the qualification, and so is BH3 as well. But it does seem like once it's all gets cemented, T3 have taken the top seed there, and that's going to be an important, I guess, a bit of information going into tomorrow, right? Because these are going to be the seedings for the bracket, the double elimination bracket tomorrow. So the 1 will verse 8, 2 verse 7, etc., etc.